Hello, hello. Welcome back to another Happy Hangout, Slay the Gray. So today, painting the Terminator Captain from the Leviathan launch set. So I got mostly pre-assembled, and I went through the liberty of priming and getting the initial base coats down. So like I do for my Ultramarines, what I do is start off with a Cantor Blue, well, Chaos Black, or Black Primer, and then I do Cantor Blue with the airbrush as a base coat, and then I kind of do a Zenithal with Mechrag Blue from the top down on the armor, so you kind of get that fade two-tone. So, for this captain, we are going to get started, and I think we're just going to start with some of the undercolors in there, like his body glove. Let me just pull up my chat so I can see the chat. Alright. So hopefully the music isn't too loud, hopefully you can hear me okay, and let's get started. So, beginning with the body glove, and we will do that with good old Abaddon Black to start off with. I got this nice little sub-assembly holder, 3D printed. This is what it looks like. Just super glue the parts on there. You have a nice little sub-assembly. Just gonna get a little black on my palette. And gonna get started. So it's got a little bit in the upper thigh, kind of near the groin. Be very careful. See, I've already made a mistake. Let's see if I can quick fix that. Gonna get some water in my brush and just wash away our troubles. Wash away the mistake before the paint dries. There. Crisis averted. I'm actually going to switch to a small layer brush so I have a little bit more precision. The body glove in here. And then just gonna look around for other visible body glove parts. I see that there's some on the under cape. Get that painted in black, and I guess there's a little bit behind the knee. It's very hard to see, but I'll try to get in there. Already slipped, made a mistake. Hard to see what I'm doing, it's so dark in there. if I can't Fix that spill. It's not going to be very noticeable, but if I can fix it, I will. Not perfect. Good enough. No one's going to see that anyways. Let's check the arms. Alright, so I have a little bit of visible body glove in the armpits and in the elbow pits. So I'll quickly do that. Very carefully get in there. And then in the armpit here, and on the other side, it looks to be mostly hidden. So that's good. Alright, so what's the consensus on drilling barrels? Yay or nay? I think most people... I know the internet's very divided on it. I think I'll leave the barrels undrilled. Just for simplicity. Now for this captain. What color cape? Maybe a red cape? Yeah, I think maybe we'll do a red cape. And then... the gun. The gun. I guess a black gun casing. With some metal in there. Metal barrels. Alright, well, we'll do the gun case black for now. I'm just gonna paint the whole thing black. And then I'll come back later with some silver and paint in the metal afterwards. Once I decide what I want to do with that. I'm trying to remember what I did for my Terminator librarian. Could go retro and give him the red gun casing with the storm bolter. That'd be kind of fun. Maybe that'd work for a captain. He's got like a relic bolter. Okay, so we're just gonna paint this all black. Some more black. Put on black on my palette. A little bit of water. Get the right consistency. A little bit more water. There we go. Much better. Very careful not to get black on anything else that's not supposed to be black, like his armor. And just get a good base coat all around the gun. I'm actually going to pull up a picture of this online. I'm just curious how they painted the gun on him. We'll get some inspiration. Let's take a look at that real quick. Captain. Leviathan. Okay. I think I see now. They kind of did like gunmetal, black outer casing, like a gold sword, silver, kind of bronzish silver on the shoulder pads. It's interesting. Silver with like a bronzen wash. I actually like that. Maybe I'll do that. Oh, they also did like silver on the knee pads and on the shoulder. Not a whole lot of gold. Oh, that's interesting. They did a silver. That's actually real sharp looking. I like that. I think I might just replicate that scheme. I think it looks great. And I play Ultramarines already, so yeah. We're gonna go with it. Just get my windows rearranged here. Alright. How can we recreate this awesome look? Well, I guess let's start with the obvious things. Well, the cape on the inside is white. The outside, I think, is red. If not, we're gonna make it red, because I think that'll look cool. So, let's get that inner cape painted up. Guess we'll do Corax white. Might take a few coats. Just gonna give this a good shake. Also, this came with some details. What details do I have to work with? And where did I put the decals? Next question. I'll have to dig those up. Maybe I can find a picture of them online. Leviathan decal sheet. I got some basic iconography. Maybe it's in my box. Let me find it real quick to determine how much of the details I have to paint. Oh, I think I found it. Organized workspace, here we go. Space Marine transfer sheet. Oh, perfect. Okay, so we have none of the checkered patterns. Got some really cool icons. Alright, I'm gonna put that up here, so keep that in mind. What I can do with this later. Put it over here. In view. They're not in the way. And I'll put this other stuff. Okay. Corax white. This is a pretty dried up paint. I need to replace this color. Let's get some of that on my palette. to add some water to bring this back to life. I'll shut my brush real quick. Alright. Just be careful. Not make a mess. Just gonna paint the inside of this cape Corax white. Not too worried about coverage because I'm gonna come in for a second coat. Just mainly trying to make sure it's smooth. Be very careful around the parts where the armor and everything else comes up against the cape. Very carefully. Just trying to pick out all the insides of the cape. Primary focus is making it smooth. Now I'll come in for a second coat once that first coat's laid down. Now most of these guys in the Leviathan set I didn't actually glue together, so I could paint them as a sub-assembly. But I think this Captain I mostly glued together. Minus his arms, of course. And his face. The rest of the body here is definitely glued together. It's going to be very hard to get all the way back there. In fact, I think I may have hit my limit already. Pretty tactful with this brush. Alright, while that dries, I'm going to go ahead and paint some white on his shoulder shield thingy. Just on the outside. Get this a nice clean white. Leave the blue on the edges. It's still made of the ceramite and painted that way. It's just got a some heraldry on the outside. And then over here, I'm just gonna go across the top. Maybe I'll try to freehand a checker pattern later. Just gotta get that top. Good enough. And then this whole shoulder pad, I'm going to... do I paint? I suppose I got some cool Ultramarines logos in blue I could put on there, so it's kind of like white on blue. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Brush is starting to dry, so I'm just gonna wash that off real quick. Gotta make sure we stay wet enough. Hello, David. If I may, what are you using to prop his pieces up for painting? Oh yeah, so this is I 3D printed these. Just on my FDM printer. Just a little sub-assembly holder, so I printed a few of those up and glued my pieces to those. Ooh, this is a bit runny. Maybe a little bit too runny. A little bit too much water. Need to get some more white on my palette. Get the right consistency. Yeah, so the sub-assembly holders are kind of nice. Especially with this Leviathan starter set with all the press fit models. They lend themselves nicely to sub-assemblies because they're all press fit and you don't have to glue everything together necessarily. So I'm just gonna paint his shoulder pad. Yeah, it is pretty legit. I mean, you can buy sub-assembly holders. I think Games Workshop actually makes one, but it's probably like 20 bucks or something ridiculous. Alright, so let's get a second coat of white on the cape. As an aside, the music is almost as loud as I am. Sounds like the music needs to go down. Thank you for the feedback. Some songs are louder than others. I don't want it to be overpowering. Yeah, hopefully that's a little bit better. Alright, so second coat of white on the cape. This particular color tends to get a little chalky when it starts to dry out. Just gotta get finding the right consistency is kind of a struggle, because it's different depending on the paint you're using, how much water you need to add. And yeah, so hopefully much better. Oh, good. That's what I like to hear. Don't want the music to be too loud. I might have to find some more tunes that are mix it up a bit, that are streamable. Unfortunately, I can't bust out the good stuff, otherwise I'll get a copyright claim. We wouldn't want that. That's pretty good. I'll have to do another coat after that. But just do another coat on the arms real quick. There we go, nice and smooth. Beautiful. And there we go. And on the shoulder pad. Ever so carefully. So I'm painting direct white, but a good trick for painting white is to just paint it gray, a very light gray. And it usually reads as white to the eye. So it's much easier to paint, because painting white is hard to do without it turning out kind of splotchy, which I'm sure many of us are aware of. Just need some more white on here. My palette. A little water. I think a third coat on the cape ought to do it. Oh yeah, it's looking much better already. White is one of those patient colors. Let's get in this cape real carefully, not painting the armor. There we go. White and yellow are my least favorite colors to paint with. Yeah. Yellow especially. And then I think one last coat on these parts ought to do it as well. This particular shade of white is kind of got a cool hue to it. Corax white. It's not like it's not a pure true white. So I still have the option to come in with the white scar for some highlights or layering if I want to. So it's important to not go full white when you paint white, so you have the ability to add some lighter color if you want. Oothian gray is another good one. It's very white, or it's very light gray, and it reads as white to the eye. That one I usually use. Like I have an Eldar Bealtan army, which is white and green, so I use Oothian gray for a lot of that. You know, I think that might be good enough for the cape on the back, or on the inside. So next, I think I'll do the red on the outside. Give him a red cape. And for that, I think we'll do Mephiston red as the base, and I'll layer on some Evil Sun Scarlet. Then we'll just do a little bit of Wild Rider red for highlight. Give these 3 paints a good shake. Got little mixing balls inside of them. I think Army Painter has those, or you can get them from other brands too, but they are great. We're mixing the paints. Still want to get a vortex mixer, that'd be pretty fun. Have to shake my pots like a pleb. Alright, so starting with the Mephiston red. Gonna get some on my palette. And get a little bit of water in there. A little bit more water. There we go. Put down the base coat for Mephiston red. If I keep it nice and thin, and do 2 thin coats, then it shouldn't come out streaky. I get a nice smooth coverage. Yeah, this color, it's got a very strong pigment, so it covers very well even when it's thin, which is great. It's a very good red. Very carefully, not to get on the armor. Oh, as I say that, I get some on the armor. That's okay. I will fix that once we get to the armor edge highlights because it's right on the edge. So no worries there. Two thin coats, yes. Duncan Rhodes, he came out with a new video recently about 2 thin coats and fundamentals, you know, but he goes through his process of getting the right consistency. It's a good watch. It's always good to brush up on the fundamentals. We'd all be lost without him. Ooh, I got some white paint all over that piece of armor on the leg. That's no good. I'm gonna have to fix that. While I wait for the red to dry, I'm gonna fix that. So, take some Cantor blue. Now this is gonna be kind of tricky because I airbrushed him with Cantor blue and McCrag blue. So just try some Cantor blue initially. Wow, that white is really showing through there. It's mostly covered though, so I think I will layer in some McCraig blue over that. Finish it up. How long have I been painting? Let's see. I first started painting when I was a child at the age of maybe 12 or 13. Warhammer Fantasy Lizardmen. Was not very good. But yeah, I painted a little bit back then throughout my middle school and high school years. A little bit into college. And then I took about a 10-year or so hiatus from the hobby. And kind of recently got back into it about 2 years ago. About midway through 9th edition of 40K. Or maybe a year after. Yeah, I guess I was midway through. Yeah, so about midway through last edition of 40K. Kind of went full on into it. And just really doing a lot of painting and pushing myself and learning and trying out new techniques. Trying to paint at least once a week, a couple days a week. Just finishing miniatures. So I've rekindled my Tyranids army when I got back into this. I got the Indomitus box initially because I wanted some Space Marines as well. Because my brother, he used to play Ultramarines, so I wanted to get some Ultramarines. So maybe have him over sometime and we can play. Yeah, and then also getting the Necrons at that too. And yeah, I've just been painting and painting and playing. Having a lot of fun. So, I guess, to answer your question, about a little over 2.5 years or so recently. A lot of painting, but some early days experience when I was younger. My older brother, back in the day, he played Space Marines, but his fantasy army was also Dark Elves and Bretonnians. And when he was collecting his Bretonnians is when he really started to push himself painting and trying some really advanced techniques, mixing colors and, you know, fancy edge highlights and other layers. And that was also in the days before wet palettes. So, I don't know, I kind of look back to what he did as an inspiration, which really pushed me to start painting more when I got back into the hobby, just because I remember him painting so well and kind of showing what was possible. So, thought I'd try to give that a go too. So, I think it was 2 years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, when I started my Gene Stealer cult army. And that was like my army where I'd try to pull out all the stops and try all the techniques and tricks. And then all the stuff I learned from that, I kind of carried over to my ever-growing Space Marine army, and I think this influenced my overall painting standard that I do for my whole army, for all my armies. But, you know, still like some speed paint methods like the Necrons. Can paint those pretty fast. Yeah, seems like everybody takes a hiatus from the hobby at some point. Yeah, I've heard the saying, nobody leaves the hobby, you just take a break from it. Yeah, I think that white looks pretty good on there. Got a decent enough coverage on his cape. So on the inside of his cape, I'm going to add some shade. I'm going to do that with It's contrast apothecary white, and I'm gonna mix in some contrast medium with that to just kind of tone it back a bit. I'm gonna give this one a good shake because it's super separated. I began way back at the end of First Edition with my Imperial Guard army. Wow, nice! First Edition, Rogue Trader. Very cool. I saw they had a limited run reprinting of Rogue Trader, and I ordered that. Just kind of see the old rulebook and all that good stuff. Yeah, so I started in Fantasy initially, and then when we got into 40K way back, I think it was 4th edition, 5th edition. The old metal Tyranids, not the old ones, but like the ones in between. I think they had a High Fleet Kraken was the poster boys at the time. Like the Hive Tyrant I still play with. It's the current sculpt, but it's the old metal and plastic one. And then my other brother, he had Imperial Guard as well, which I actually have in my collection currently. He just had like a Limit Russ and some squads and a command squad. Very small force, but they're pretty cool. They're actually featured in narrative battle report series on the channel that we did during October, City of the Living Dead. It's kind of like a narrative scenario with some guardsmen have to make their way across the city and fight off zombies and make an escape. And that's got my brother's Imperial Guard. So it's kind of cool to put them to some use. Get them on the table again. Alright, so I'm going to put some Apothecary White contrast paint on my palette. I'm going to mix in some Technical Contrast Medium. Just kind of dial back the intensity of that, because it is intense. Maybe like 3 to 1 ratio. 3 parts medium and 1 part apothecary. Get that really nice and mixed. And alright, here we go. I'm either gonna ruin my base coat or this is gonna look awesome. Yeah, it's very subtle, but I think this is what we want. Just gonna spread this all around. Just add a little bit of shading to the white. So this is also what I do on my Eldar Biltan army. Do a Grey Seer undercoat and then this Apothecary White contrast medium over all their armor. And then I'll do like a dry brush of Uslan Gray over that to lighten it up. And then if I want to do some edge highlights, I'll throw in some White Scar and like the edges of their armor. Alright. So that's looking pretty good. And on this bright red cape, I think I'm going to put some Hellborn Crimson on the red of the cape. Just add some shade to that as well. Just to really accentuate those folds. It's kind of a weird phrase to say. Folds in the fabric. There we go. It's kind of pooling in some spots. I'm gonna throw him on his base just temporarily to kind of let gravity do its work. And while it's still wet, I'm just gonna wick away a little bit where it's pooling a bit too much. Overall, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, and while that's drying... Oh, let's see here. What do we got going on? I suppose I could start his face. Yeah, maybe we'll start his face. So I think we'll do Cadian flesh tone as the base color. And then I'm going to darken it up with some Bugman's Glow. And then layer in some Pallid Witch Flash mix with Cadian to kind of bring up the colors a little bit. Yeah, okay. So let's do that. Let's get the base coat laid down first. Screaming into the void. Let's get this camera to focus. Alright, so I'm going to start with just getting the base color down of Cadian flesh tone. Make sure it's thin enough. Yeah, this is going to take a few coats, I think. He kind of looks like the Doom guy. Or not the Doom guy, Wolfenstein. BJ Blazkowicz. I suppose he kind of does like the Doom guy, because you can like select the difficulty. And it's kind of got the face. That gets progressively bloody when the more damage you get. Alright, so that looks awful, but it's gonna take some more coats, I think. Can I focus? There we go. Focus on the face. Can I get this zoomed in even more? I played classic Doom. The new Doom's pretty fun. I never really got into Wolfenstein. Other than, I probably played Wolfenstein like 12 minutes. Oh, I should get the inside of his mouth too. Oh, let's have a blue mouth, and we don't want that. I think I need a smaller brush. Eat you up paint. Here we go. Alright, coat number 2. Let's see if I can do it in 2 coats. Nope. It's gonna take another coat. Maybe another coat after that. I'm so glad I did not glue his face into his helmet, or this would be a pain to paint. I'm also trying to paint this so it's visible on camera, so it's already a little bit awkward for me. But I think we'll make it work. A little bit on his cheek. Alright. Skip this song. Don't like that song. Whoops. There we go. Cape is still drying. Oh, I got a couple little pools. Ooh. And let's refocus that face. There we go. Alright, I think I need another coat of Cadian on his face. Just get that laid down real quick. Just don't want any of that blue showing through. Also keeping this really thin so that it doesn't hide any details between the layers. Maybe a little thinner than I normally have it. Faces are tricky. And I can see there's still some blue showing through. So I think we'll have to do another coat after this. Alright, I'm gonna blow dry his face. And go back in for another coat real quick. Make sure that blue isn't really showing through anymore. That's looking much better. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry. And while I do that, I'm going to mix in some Bugman's Glow with some water. Words every Space Marine doesn't want to hear. What, the blow dryer? Take some Bugman's Glow. Maybe mix in... I'll try some lemon medium instead of water to make it more like a wash. Just because I don't want it too watery. Medium kind of gives a different viscosity. a little bit nicer for washing. Alright, so with this, I'm just going to kind of go all around, let it pool around his hair, getting all those crevices around his eyes, his nose, his cheeks. Around the hairline. Kind of letting the wash do its thing. Get some variation in the skin tone there. And while that dries, I'm gonna get some, refocus his face. There we go. Camera keeps wanting to focus on the paint pots behind. Captain Steve. Good name. Brother Captain Steve. Getting blow dried by a giant blow dryer. Alright, I'm gonna grab some Pallid Witch flesh and get that on my palette so I can start mixing in Cadian flesh tone because I'll need some highlights later. But I'm gonna take just a little bit of Cadian and mix that in with Bugman's Glow. Or I should say a little bit of Bugman's Glow, mix it in with Cadian. And we're just going to start slowly building up some of the skin tones. So starting with his chin and the cheeks, the nose, while leaving most of the Bugmans inside the recesses on his face. And the other side. So I generally follow this formula for skin. If I want it to be a little bit more tan, I'll start with Cadian. If I want it to be a little bit more pasty, I'll start with Kislev flesh. For darker skin tones, could do Rhinox hide, and then mix in like some Mornfang brown, or even Doombull brown, because that's a nice warm brown for some of the lightest colors. And then kind of in between, you could start with Bugman's Glow mixed with actually Reikland flesh shade is also good too. I use this for some skin tones. Kind of do like Cadian flesh tone, then Reikland, and then layer on some highlights. So I guess I don't really do skin consistently across the board. Kind of varied up, which kind of gets some nice variation overall for skin tones. You know, everyone's got different skin tones. But I hate doing faces. I love it when it turns out and it's kind of stressful in between. So this is now pure Cadian flesh tone, and I'm going to kind of go over those same spots again, just trying to stay on the raised areas of his face. Just kind of bring the color back, the lighter color that is. I think we need just a little bit more on his nose. Also trying to catch where the light would naturally illuminate his face. He's got very distinct cheekbones because he's like in a screaming pose, which is interesting. Yeah. I like that. So at this point, I'm gonna also do the eyes and the teeth. So I'll actually do those both with Pallid Witch Flesh instead of pure white. So I'm gonna take a small brush. But not super small. I got smaller, but this should be small enough. I'm just gonna carefully get his teeth. There we go. And the eyes. Gotta get the eyes. Okay. Oh no, I got his eyebrow. That's not what I wanted. All right. Eyes are tricky. Let me fix this eyebrow real quick. Go to that Bugman's Cadian mixture. Just kind of clean up around the eyes. A little bit. Alright, now I'm going to dot the eyes. And I'm going to use my smallest brush for that. We got 30 and a 20. These brushes I'm using are a mix of Citadel and Reaper miniatures. Discovered Reaper miniatures brushes recently, and they are very affordable and quite good. Would recommend. Alright, now I'm gonna just carefully dot the eyes. I've done it. And he doesn't look crazy. Try to focus his face. Yeah. How's that? Not too shabby. Alright, so lastly, I'm going to do some final highlights. And I switch back to a slightly larger brush, just slightly. the old number 10. I'm going to mix in Pallid Witch Flesh and Cadian Flesh Tone for some lighter face highlights. Just doing some mixing on my palette over here. Okay. Just gonna get the cheek, the chin, this line going up the side of his face, the nose, the other cheek, and a little bit on the forehead. Then I'm just going to take a little bit of pure Cadian, water it down, then just try to soften the transition just a little bit, dial it back. So it's not terribly extreme. There. I think I'm happy with that. Gotta get that focused. Yeah. Well done. Much better than Sergeant Bob came back from the Astra refresher theory. Looking like he's perpetually surprised from different directions. Yes. Yes, that usually happens when you dot the eyes. They have the look of terror on their face. It's you're always rolling the dice when you dot eyes. Okay, let's give him some blonde hair. And blonde hair I can do with Ubshati Bone. And I think I can actually use the Pallid Witch Flesh I got on my palette. Mix that in. So let's do a base layer of Ubshati Bone. And then we'll layer in some lightness. Sometimes I like to start with the part of the painting project I'm dreading the most, or maybe the hardest part first. So that's most often the face, or in this case I'm trying to go through the whole Leviathan box, so I started with the 10 Infernus Marines, and I just wrapped those up the other day. Still need decals, but I think they turned out alright. So I was working on these all last week, off camera and over the weekend. Alright, let's get some classic Space Marine blonde hair. Not this fella. Suppose if I get it on his helmet piece there. That's not a big deal because I need to paint that anyways. Kind of looks like a G.I. Joe. Those old school G.I. Joes. Thank you. Yeah, the edge highlighting on all the armor took forever. And I did that pretty early on in the process too, so it's just like I do it over the course of a week, and I sit down, edge highlight one marine or two in like an hour, then come back the next day, do two more, do two more. Alright. Base coat of blonde hair is on. I wish this would stay focused on his face. There we go. Alright, so now I'm just going to layer on some pallid witch flesh into that Ushaki bone. And start to lighten up his hair. Oh, and I can't forget his eyebrows. He's got eyebrows, doesn't he? Let me quick get those. Focus, focus, focus. There we go. I'll quickly just grab those eyebrows with some blonde. There we go. And then let's mix in some more pallid witch flesh. Just a little bit of a edge highlight on his hair. There we go. I think we can call his face done. Let's get a little bit of red on the inside of the mouth. Okay. Now I think the face is done. Get a focus on that. There we go. We got our screaming blonde space marine. I do need to do the forehead studs. But I will come back to that, I think. Okay, so let me zoom out the camera. There we go. back to the body. So this is all dried. I'm going to take Evil Sun's Scarlet and start to layer that on the red cape. He has one eyebrow. You took the other away earlier. Oh yeah. Didn't quite get all of the eyebrow. Let me fix that. Kind of wraps around the side of his head. There we go. Now he's got some really thick eyebrows. There we go. Good catch, good catch. All right. Evil Sun Scarlet. Thank you. I think that is a pretty good Space Marine face. It's one of my better faces. Not all my Space Marine faces are nice. Sometimes it's like, oh, you should find your helmet and put that on. Cover that atrocity. Alright, so I'm going to take Evil Sun Scarlet. Ooh, that's a very vibrant red. Mix in a little bit of water. And just going to start layering on raised areas. Okay, got the consistency right. Yeah, this looks good. This is good. This feels good. Oh, maybe even just a little bit more water. This is also a very vibrant pigment. Just gonna layer this on, kind of blending the reds together. Just focusing on the more raised areas, leaving that nice Caraborn crimson in the recesses with that Mephiston red that's been shaded. And if this is nice and thin, you can kind of just spread it around, not worry too much about kind of undoing everything, because it's kind of semi-transparent with it being so thin. But man, this is a very vibrant red. I feel like a lot of the Games Workshop paints, the reds are very strong. Maybe that's just a characteristic of red pigment in general. I don't know. Not all colors are the same, as we all know, because yellow and white can be a pain. I'm just gonna get the outer edge of his cape here, and a little bit down this way before it goes into that recess. And then as it dries, it kind of darkens up too. I like that though. It's very striking. All right. You know, I was gonna do some Wild Rider Red, and I'm wondering, maybe not. Maybe I'll leave this cape as like that for now. Otherwise, I might go a little bit too orange. I kind of like the way this looks. Yeah. All right. So I think next I'm gonna do some panel recess shading with some Nuln Oil, and then start going in for the panel edge highlight of the armor. Let's find the Nuln Oil. Here we go. And for this, I'm going to use a smaller brush. I got this Army Painter Precise Detail. It's just about the right size. Nice long tip. Strong contrast. Yeah, it's very... I don't know how to describe it. It's... it really catches the eye. I like it. It's kind of got like a Roman-esque look to it. As it should, since he's an Ultramarine after all. Alright, so for power armor, I like to do panel recess shading. So it's going to go along these parts where the panels kind of butt up against each other and just darken those up with Nuln Oil. So let's get the inside of this round circular face hole. And then kind of let's see here. I guess around the Aquila. Although I might need to go back once I start painting that gold. This doesn't need to be terribly neat, but I also don't want to just cover the whole thing in Nuln Oil. Just really trying to get it in the recesses. So it's upper belly area, along the belt. I think I found a spot on the belt that I want to paint black. Little buckle. To come back and do that. This thing keeps going out of focus. That's no good. So these cracks in the armor. Along these power tubes. He's got quite a bit of stuff on his power armor, but not too bad. The Terminator armor is a little bit more simple in its ridges and stuff. Bigger shapes, so I think it'll be easier to work with. Just kind of go around there. I'm not going to worry too much behind the cape because you can't see that anyways. Just going to get some shade around there and come around to the other side. Some spots I missed. Get this leg. It's amazing how just this one step adds so much pop to the armor. Oh, can't forget the feet. Along the shoe. Here we go. What Tyranid hive fleet should I paint this Screamer Killer head? Yeah, long delay. I know that the chat coming up in the stream itself is going to be pretty delayed. Because there's like a default broadcast delay. It might be a little bit longer than normal. So I guess just keep that in mind. Hopefully there's enough context in the question. I can figure out what you're talking about. All right, and the arms. Just gonna get the crack here by the hand. Armpit. Wow, there's really not a whole lot here. Just because... yeah. Excellent. I actually think the edge highlights on his power armor won't be that bad. The regular Primaris armor seems to have way more going on. It's kind of a nightmare. Okay. So I think I got all the recess shading done. Now for the power armor highlights itself. Come on. And focus. There we go. So for this, I'm going to build up my highlights. Set these colors away. I don't need them anymore. Cluttering the desk. Alright, so we're going to do, I think, some Helgar blue and then Fenrisian gray. Stand by. Trying to clean up as I go, otherwise my paint station will be a complete mess. Okay. Pick that one over there with the colors. You got it. That'll be the Hive Fleet. I suppose I can make it match my Hive Fleet. But maybe that's a conflict of interest. He's killing my own guys. I don't know. Well, I got some time before I have to decide on the base. Alright, so let's start with the Kelgar Blue. Power Armor highlights. And for this, I think I'm gonna use this same brush. Seems like a good size. Get some Kelgar blue on my palette. I think I'll need a whole lot. And get a healthy amount of water. Usually pretty runny is good for highlights, but not too runny, because otherwise they go everywhere. But I usually like to make it a little bit thinner than normal painting. And we'll just go ahead and start at highlighting. Oh yeah, this is a good brush for it. Oh, you know what? I see a spot where I got some more white on the armor. Let me quick fix that with my Cantor blue. There. No one will be none the wiser. And back at it with the Calgar blue. Just gonna get a little bit on these T-bends, or these T, I don't know what you want to call them. It's like joining pipes. It's like a T intersection. Words are escaping me tonight. Get the belt. Also, while I'm at this angle, I'll get the bottom part of his chest. So tedious. I kind of hate painting Space Marines. And once again, focusing. There we go. This camera's got a great autofocus, however, it's a little overzealous and focuses on the wrong things. It hasn't quite figured out miniature painting. Just try to get a nice clean highlight. Usually if I can get the edge of the brush, comes out almost perfect. Gonna get all around this leg piece here. Okay. And along the inside of these armor lines. Here, like this one will be easier to see. Just gonna follow these lines. And I'm not talking a whole lot right now because I'm really trying to focus and keep it clean. The right level moisture on the brush. Gotta keep it wet. Don't want it to get too dry. Over here is where I fixed that mistake earlier. Wow, this is going on a lot cleaner than I anticipated, probably because I've been practicing on my Infernus Marines all week, so the muscle memory is still there. So I'm gonna try to paint every single day for 30 days in a row on day 15. Just as like a fun little challenge. And I think it's definitely helping. Keeping the brush control and the muscle memory fresh. I goofed. I screwed up. I think I saved it though. Just give it the old smudge with the thumb, which isn't always the best thing to do, but it's kind of a instinct. Oh. Another minor mistake. Oh well. Can't be perfect. Maybe I can clean that up. Take a little bit of Cantor. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. It's hard to correct mistakes when you've airbrushed the base coat. Just can't really get that same effect of the brush as easily. All right. Back to the foot. Panel highlights. Just trying to get all these little details. This step is very tedious, however, it's totally worth it for the end result. This is why I hate painting Space Marines. Love hate. I love the way they look. Fired. Yeah, that's probably a reference to a little slip up. Oops. Yeah, big delay tonight. It's like a minute. Maybe multiple minutes. That doesn't seem normal. Maybe my internets and the YouTubes are not quite in agreement with what's going on. And neither is my camera. There we go. And get this detail around the foot. There we go. That wasn't so bad. I think, yeah, the back side I'm not going to worry about because it's covered up by that cape. You won't see it. Just going to focus on the important things. So let's get the edges of his boxy armor. Ever so carefully. Oh man, edge highlighting boxy things is so satisfying because it's so easy and you get such crisp lines. There's that spot where I got the red cape on there where I said we're just gonna highlight over it, and that is what we did. And up along here. Whew, almost there. Almost there. And then I get to do the arms. I swear I'm not downloading it up or anything. I don't know why there's so much delay. I don't know why there's so much delay either. I think it's YouTube. Or OBS is punishing me for not updating to the latest version. It's okay. I mean, there's the delay of the chat, and then there's the delay of me actually looking up to read the chat. Because I'm so hyper-focused right now. It's just a lose-lose situation. Alright, let's get this rim here. Along the head opening. Oh, look at that. I got a 2-for-1. There we go. Oh, one more spot. These panels that go along the top here, I'm gonna get the little highlight going there. There's always something more to edge highlight. Oh, I made a little mistake. I'm just gonna pretend it didn't happen. And carry on. All right. Let's get the inside edge of these back vents. There we go. Alright. Let's do the arms real quick. Then I'll come in for a highlight pass number 2 with Fenrisian Gray. That'll go much quicker because I'm not going to do it everywhere. Just going to pick out some spots here and there. So I can get the edges of our shield. Oops. Those edges picked out, and then we got this whole shoulder pad here. Up in here. That back corner, and then we're gonna get the parts on his gauntlet. Oh, I suppose he's got these other little bits hanging off on his elbows. Got some nice hard edges to highlight. Don't want to miss those. Okay. Now the other arm. Similar story. These edges along the hand. I'm almost out of paint. Add some more, but I'm almost done too, so gotta try to stretch it. And sometimes I get a little impatient with edge highlighting, and I start to rush, and sometimes I make mistakes. Alright, so now with that done, Oops. I'm gonna go back to the armor, and I'm going to use Fenrisian Gray. I'm just gonna pick out the most sharp corners with this. And just doing a time check, looks like it's... I'm gonna end this stream in about 9 minutes or so, 10 minutes or so. And I'll probably pick this up next week and probably finish him off. He doesn't really have a whole lot left. Just the seals and the metallics. Maybe some decals in the base. So I think that should be enough to fill an entire session for next week. But before I close out, I can do some Fenrisian Gray panel highlighting, just to kind of finish what we started here with the power armor. So I like to do highlights with two phases. I have a darker color that's significantly brighter than the base coat. So, you know, Calgar blue over a Crag blue. And then come in with Fenrisian Gray over that on a slightly smaller brush and just kind of do the same thing, but really focus on some of the corners. And you can see how much that just really shows through. And I just kind of only do this on the most extreme or sharpest edges. So then you kind of see both of the highlights working together. And like, I'm not going to go over everywhere where I went with Calgar blue, but just in a, you know, a couple key areas. So like, I think this knee, for example, just gonna, it's kind of like picking some of the highlights and emphasizing them. And then all the colors kind of work together. You get some really cool looking highlights. Yeah. So like down here, for example, it's a nice sharp hard edge. So I'm gonna give it the old Fenrisian Gray treatment. A little bit on the foot. See, I'm not really going over everywhere I went. Just picking out a few spots here and there. So yeah, I like the way that left leg looks. And we'll just go ahead and do the same on the right hand side. And try to focus on the miniature, not my hand. Get that corner down there. Get this corner here. Yeah, delays. At least it's not terribly time sensitive. It is miniature painting after all. Alright, and then we'll just get the edges on the box. These little tiny brushes, they dry out so quickly. If I could do a couple brush strokes and then gotta re-wet it. Excuse me. Snuck a burp. There we go. And then lastly on the arms, just gonna get these hard edges picked out real quickly with this Federizian gray. Get those nice extreme highlights in. I mean, with the right brushes, this isn't really hard to do. It's just time consuming. But the more you do it, the faster you get. Get the edge on this shoulder pad. And I think, oh, there's a back corner here, and then almost there. There we go. I think... Oh, I didn't do this other shield. Let me just click. There we go. That's good. There we go. We have the power armor all edge highlighted. So you can kind of see the two colors working in tandem. And with that, I think we will close the stream tonight. And I will be back next week. And I think I'm just going to set this guy aside. And I will pick up where I left off next week. And work on some of the metallics and the other... the scrolls and his sword and everything else. And I think we can finish him off next week. Hopefully. Alright, so I will leave you all. Have a fantastic evening. And if any of you stumble upon this video after the fact, I do painting every week every Monday at 7 p.m. Central. And also got a lot of other great videos on the channel. Check us out. We got battle reports, other crafting and painting videos, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Alright, you all have a wonderful evening, and I'll catch you next week. Bye.